I mean, there was a time when I used to, if I had to search for a plumber in my own city, it would just be plumber, right? And then
Yeah,
from
yeah,
there we went to Google saying plumbers near me on Google Maps, and now you
yeah,
just go and ask where can I find a plumber, and then you'll get a whole list of plumbers around you, right? And
yeah,
that's how this
yeah.
search has
That's
evolved.
yeah, and it's even more. You can get even more specific if you've got a particular plumbing problem. So
Hmm.
if you've got a leaking pipe, and you might search for this that specific or scenario. It might be an underground pipe, and you need someone specific who deals with that sort of plumbing. You
Hmm.
can get really, really aligned to exactly what you need when you need it, and that's why it's really helpful if you're publishing content on various specific needs that you're addressing as a business.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Your Lab Central. Today I have with me Wes. So Wes, would you like to tell our audience why they should be excited about this conversation today?
Firstly, fantastic to be with you this morning. Nice and early for me in the day, but I think the any time you have an opportunity to learn from other people's mistakes, I've made plenty of mistakes in business, and hopefully I can share some of those. Anytime you can learn from other people's mistakes rather than make the mistakes yourself, it's a big plus. So hopefully I can share some ideas.
All right, now since you've talked about learning from mistakes, everybody talks about what was the biggest mistake or what was the one mistake that turned your life around. I want to ask you what was the dumbest thing that you messed up, and it retrospectively you feel like how could I have missed something like this, something so simple like that. So let's start from there.
Oh man, I've made so many horrendous mistakes over the years, and some minor, some large. There's a few that spring to mind. I mean, the first first employment I made,
Hmm.
hiring someone, I just got that all wrong. But there was another more serious scenario, which it felt like it nearly killed me, where I run a digital agency, so we do websites and SEO and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I had a small team at the time. It was fairly new in business,
Hmm.
but I had a lead developer who
Hmm.
I could see who was getting sort of bored with the work. It was kind of repetitive. Our works,
Hmm.
we follow procedures and process work,
Yeah.
standard operating procedures. And so
Hmm.
everything kind of is done the same way each and every time for
Yeah.
consistency. But I could see my lead developer was getting quite bored. He was really
Yeah.
intelligent guy. And so this opportunity for to do a website, which was outside the scope of what we normally do,
Hmm.
so it was completely different, and I had no idea how to do it myself. But I thought, oh, I'll ask my lead developer if it's something he's interested in,
Hmm.
so he might be engaged with that and get him motivated and excited again. We did that. It was a dating website, so it was a number of years ago before the dating apps were
Yeah.
around. So it was people used to do that stuff on
Hmm.
websites, and it required certain software and stuff. So he said, yeah, I definitely know how to do that. And I thought, great. Do you mind putting together the proposal? Because I have no idea about it.
Yeah.
And he did the proposal. I pitched it. We won the project. And then I thought that was great. It was going to keep him excited about working with us.
Hmm.
And 2 weeks into the project, he quit the job, and I had no idea how to build it out myself. I had no one else in the team who knew how to do
Yeah.
it. So, man, it was a lot of headaches. Lots of late nights and so on. We got the job done, and the client had no idea of all the
Mhm.
pain and anguish I was going through at the time.
Yeah.
But we got it done, delivered.
Uh-huh.
She was really happy. She actually sold that business, and did really well out of it. But I
Mhm.
learned best to stick to our lane and do what we do really well. We're specialized. We work with the trades and construction industries. So
Hmm.
I've just decided to stick to our niche, stick to what we do really well, and
Yeah.
don't deviate too far because it causes a whole lot of pain.
Right. Now, there's this specific point that you picked out, right? Sticking to your niche and not trying to diversify too much. This has been
Yeah.
huge these days, right? You find one pain point and you try to stick to it and become the specialist in that. So how is it? How is that played out from you? Obviously, you shared one mistake. I mean, one opportunity that you got to
Yeah.
diversify, and then it blew up in your face. But then again, how has it played out for you? Trying to stick to your niche. Obviously, you must have had so many good opportunities, right? To say, yeah, this is
Yeah.
such a good project that I should be doing, but no, I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like when you do niche into a certain industry, it feels
Mhm.
as though you're cutting off so many opportunities.
Yeah.
But really, when you do it, you're actually amplifying the opportunities in your space to a whole new
Okay.
level. I think now is the time for expertise and real solid specialized knowledge in certain
Mhm.
fields because
Right.
with the technical capabilities of AI, for example, it makes the technical aspect of building a website in our world more simplified and it's going
Yeah.
to become even easier.
Hmm.
So if we're just going to build websites for anybody and everybody, we're not really adding anything new of value
Yeah.
to the clients. But once we really understand our niche and specifically what they need and what's likely to work for them in their circumstances,
Yeah.
then we can bring a whole new level of specialized knowledge and get better results as a result of that. So yeah, so niching I think is the future for a lot of businesses. It's really ultra specific knowledge in a certain field. I think they're the
Right.
people who are going to win in business.
Okay. And now, when we talk about business, right, you brought in AI. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And about all these tools that have come up, right? You write a prompt and you'll have a website ready. And I don't know, within minutes, within an hour, you'll have your whole website full stack, front end, back end, mid
Yeah.
end. I don't know what else you'll have within an hour. Have you tried it out and how efficient is that? How many bugs do you get usually? Now, what's the kind of response that you've been getting?
Yeah, so we're not using any of the AI, like the vibe coding.
Yeah.
I know there's a bunch of them. I've played with most of them at different times just for fun.
Yeah,
Uh, the the capability of the design just doesn't fit with us right now. But potentially it might do in the future, and
yeah.
I perceive it eventually
Mhm.
be so sophisticated that it'll do a lot of the work we do manually right now. So that's from the design and aesthetic perspective. But the capabilities are really exciting of
Mhm.
what it can do. It's exciting and terrifying because it means every business is evolving and adapting with AI.
Yeah.
And certainly our industry will do so. A few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I got a business valuation done and it came in a lot lower than anticipated. All the
Right.
metrics were great in business that you
Mhm.
typically look at to
Yes.
value a business.
Hmm.
But the valuer said, AI has the potential to wipe out your whole industry. Therefore, I can't give you a higher value. No one's going to buy
Right.
uncertainty and that your whole industry is uncertain. So that was a real kick in the teeth, but a real wake up call to think about, okay, how do we use AI to streamline processes? So we're using
Mhm.
it for the systemization of business, but we're
Right.
still creating the same outcomes, but we've able to speed up processes and so on, and
Hmm.
also using it to syndicate a message. So once you've got a great message, you can use it really effectively to rework that message into multiple platforms and
Yeah.
social media and so on.
Yeah.
So it's really powerful.
Hmm. No, I mean, why I specifically asked that question is because you've been doing something. I mean, you've been building websites and doing SEO for people for like the couple of past decades, right? And then you are having this experience and that hands-on, right? Which AI suddenly brings and democratizes and gives it to everybody's, right?
Yeah,
Now, if there's something that it can do as a generalist, right? But you as a specialist
yeah,
have some specific capabilities in the industry. You have some know-how. Now, if somebody is
yeah.
going and trying to vibe code their website, okay, how will it be different from something that you offer, and how should people be comparing the outcomes from a generic
Yeah,
AI tool?
yeah, yeah. So I suppose the vibe coding, the ones that I've played with, and I've played with all the major ones, they all
Mhm.
sort of come out kind of looking the same. And
Okay.
once you know how the tools do it, you can
Yeah.
kind of pick, oh, this one was created in Replit or whatever. There's a
Yeah.
Lovable is it? Lovable probably to my eye does the best job of the design right now.
Okay.
I know the vibe coding. Some of them are better at the more of the app building and so on. But the design aesthetic isn't quite there yet. You can kind of tell. So we like to, because I'm a graphic designer by training, I did studied
Okay.
that at university. I like to be able to control the design a little to a
Yeah.
higher degree. And so
Yes.
I think those finishing touches is really what makes the difference between a good site and a bad site. It's just that 5 or 10%,
Hmm.
the finishing touches that really make a
Yeah.
business stand out and look authentic, and their brand is on point. It's
Mhm.
exactly a match to who they want to be. It's not just generically created. AI, we've got to remember AI is artificial. It's not authentic all the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like artificial food, I like to say. So we know
Mhm.
artificial food. Whoops, my camera lights went off. Artificial food is not good for us. We know that. So it's kind of the same thing. Sometimes the artificial intelligence isn't always the
Yeah.
best for us, the best outcome. So you've
Mhm.
got to use it in a measured way and understand the tool for what it is.
Right. I mean, you rightly said, right? They all kind of look the same, generic, run-of-the-mill kind of stuff, and then it's the last 5-10% human touch that comes in and brings that
Yeah,
character into the website, right? Uh,
that's right. Yeah.
so brand building, right? When it comes to that, what are the mistakes that you're seeing in the industry, right? When it comes to websites and
Yeah. Well, I think because it's so from a content perspective, because that's
Mhm.
the real capability, because these are language models. So we're talking about
Right.
language, content, writing.
Mhm.
So the tendency to lean on the tools to create the content for you because it can do a fairly good job. So you
Yeah.
just punch in people realize if they've got content, they might attract Google's attention and therefore
Yes.
get traffic and so on. So
Hmm.
they just jump on their preferred LLM, their ChatGPT or whatever they're using, and just say, "Hey, write me an article about their business, their service,
Yeah.
their product, whatever," and just publish it. But it's generic because it's just the average sum total of what everyone else has already said. It's just collating it
Yeah.
into a new piece. So it's not authentically aligned to the business. So you've really
Hmm.
got to set up your own prompts and make sure you train it to specifically write in your brand voice and your
Right.
style and the nuance. Anything that's unique and specific in your business, they're the key points. Anything that's different to everybody else or your competitors, they're the key points you really need to highlight and guide with correct prompting. Guide the tools to create the content that are a great match to what you want to say.
Okay, and now since you talked about that, I mean, it was something that I was actually very actively doing with a website that I used to run called the staticstore.com. So, I mean, we had this issue, right? Obviously, we have a new website. We want to get on Google rankings and stuff. And ChatGPT had just come out, right? So I thought, okay, let's look up
Yeah.
how do you do this? And then I came up with a prompt that was perfect, gave me the right brand voice, and I could
Yeah.
describe my product to it, and then it would give me a like 200 word product description, and then I was churning out content on a daily basis for like 10, 15 different products on a daily basis, and then it got me huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of worked, but it's just that sometimes SEO is all about age, right? As the website ages,
Yeah.
sometimes the audience just keeps growing due to some odd reason. If you can just enlighten the audience with it.
Yeah, well, it's about building trust in all these tools, and it doesn't matter which tool we're talking about. If we're talking about Google or talking about showing up in a large language model, it's about building authority and trust, so
Hmm.
that the all the tools recognize you as a leader and an authority in the space you work in.
Hmm.
And that's why niching is really powerful because you have a higher level of knowledge in that one field of expertise
Yeah.
that you're providing to the world. It's really so if you're creating great content around that, it'll show up in Google, but it'll show up in the large language models. It's a different sort of scenario where you might get your brand mentioned
in the large language models, but have no idea that it's mentioned because there's no reason to necessarily to click through to your website, for example. Back in the day, you could easily have keywords and you'd track that
Yeah.
the traffic would come to your website and you'd be able to figure out, you ranked whatever and you're getting traffic and you're getting an outcome return on investment for that. Now you just get your brand mentioned and have no idea. So unless you ask the question when a new client comes on board, hey, how did you find out about us? You won't know that it was through large language models. So I had a client just maybe a month ago now who called to thank me for the work we'd done. We'd only done a small project for him to help him show up in all the right places. We
Right.
call it search everywhere optimization. And he rang and said, hey, thanks so much. We just won $140,000 a job
Hmm.
as a consequence of showing up in the large language models. He would have had no idea where they came from, only
Hmm.
for the fact that he asked the question and that's what they said. They had a full conversation with their chat GPT and asked a series of questions to find out who was the very best in his industry in Australia. So
Hmm.
the client he won, it was a plumbing company that he brought on board. They're in a completely different location in
Yeah.
Australia, very far. But they wanted the very best in Australia, and ChatGPT said he was, so they chose him.
All right. Now, I think what you're talking about is also artificial engine optimization, right?
Yeah,
The the LLMs actually suggesting you. So, if somebody is not acquainted with this concept, could you just run people through that and how they can improve the chances of getting suggested by LLMs?
yeah. Well, the good news is the same principles. If people have done search engine optimization for years, the
Hmm.
good news is the same principles apply to some degree. Now, there was lots of cheating your way to the top back in the day with SEO.
Yeah.
Like they used to call it black hat or grey hat. So
Yeah.
things you would do to manipulate Google effectively to show up for your keywords. There's
Yeah.
less ways to manipulate the tools because they're sophisticated. They understand the full language
Yeah.
now. Google does as well. So it's about publishing really great content that aligns to the conversations people might be having to find a business like yours. So
Hmm.
they're all getting more and more sophisticated, so they're more and more capable of surfacing the right information to the right people at the right time.
Okay.
So you've just got to be publishing that information across the board. So
Hmm.
as I said, search everywhere optimization. Everywhere is a lot of places. It includes
Yeah.
social media. It includes obviously the large language models. It includes Google.
Hmm.
Everywhere you can publish that can be. It's all training. It's all training the AI. So we
Yeah.
train our own AIs, but
Yeah.
what if you could train everybody else's AI too? And that's what publishing to a website can do.
Yes.
It helps to train the AI for other people so that they can find your business.
Yeah, because right in just recently, right in July, where Google decided that now social media posts will also be ranked on search results, right?
Yeah,
And that was just like mind blowing, where Reddit was now ranking significantly higher than everybody else, just because people were so
yeah,
much sharing information on those blogs and platforms, right?
yeah. Yeah,
So
it's phenomenal, isn't it? Reddit just blew up, because it's naturally a conversational type of platform. So it's
yeah,
people speaking of their experiences and so
mm,
on, and that's the way in which people search now. They don't search. So still, sometimes people might search archaically, like the service and the location. So plumber Melbourne, for example. Sorry, but we also realize we can search in full sentences and
yeah.
really get really specific because it understands the whole context of what we're saying.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time when I used to, if I had to search for a plumber in my own city, it would just be plumber, right? And then
Yeah,
from
yeah,
there we went to Google saying plumbers near me on Google Maps, and now you
yeah,
just go and ask where can I find a plumber, and then you'll get a whole list of plumbers around you, right? And
yeah,
that's how this
yeah.
search has
That's
evolved.
Yeah, and it's even more. You can get even more specific if you've got a particular plumbing problem. So
Hmm.
if you've got a leaking pipe, and you might search for that specific, or scenario, it might be an underground pipe, and you need someone specific who deals with that sort of plumbing. You
Mhm.
can get really, really aligned to exactly what you need when you need it.
Mhm.
And that's why it's really helpful if you're publishing content on various specific needs that you're addressing as a business.
Right. I mean, when you mention it like that, probably I mean, it strikes my mind, right? Wherein there are tools on the internet which can tell you what kind of questions people are asking, right? I think there's
Yeah.
Ask the Internet or something of that sort where you put up a question and then it will give you a list of the type of questions that people are asking, and then you can just go on and start writing, blasting out content related to that.
Yeah, there are, and it's even easier than that. You can use the tools themselves to guide you. And so I've got prompts on our website, uplift360.com.au. It's you can get them for free. They're in the our news, our blog. So you haven't got to give your email address or anything, but all a heap of prompts to
Hmm.
take keywords, what we once used as keywords, so plumber and then location,
Hmm.
and you put you copy paste the prompt, put the keyword you were ranking for, and it'll give you a whole list of questions and conversations that people are searching for right then.
Hmm.
Um, and so you can rework that into content for your website. I think there's 12 prompts, that really sophisticated prompts that anyone can use that they can
Hmm.
grab from the website.
So anything that I mean, not specifically just your industry, but probably in your starting with your industry, that people can do on social media so that their posts actually get ranked on search, right? Um, I'm
Yeah,
sure it's not just about keywords and writing the right form of description, because there's more, because you
yeah.
need people to engage on the post itself, write a few comments, and then those comments will actually lead you to getting more rankings, right?
Yeah, well, the goal, to think about it more holistically, the goal is to publish content that's shareable, that people want to engage with.
Yeah.
And so, an easy and a great way to do that is to collaborate with others. So, you're leveraging their audience as well. That's why podcasting is so powerful. So, it's in this instance, it's you and I creating a piece of content that we can share to our audiences. So, we're doubling our audiences,
That's right.
roughly speaking. One audience might be bigger than the other, but roughly speaking, you're doubling your audience. So your engagement, and you're bringing something new and of value. So one piece of content like this,
Hmm.
a podcast, can be repurposed into content for
Yeah.
social media. And so you're able to syndicate that message far and wide with AI tools and
Hmm.
lots of different software that can repurpose. So, for example, this you could take the transcript from this podcast and you could write blog posts about it. Not just one
Hmm.
blog post, you could write a whole series probably of
That's
blog
right.
posts if you wanted to. And
Yeah.
that those blog posts can then be repurposed into social media. So obviously you wouldn't have a full blog post content just published on social. You would repurpose it to be effective for the platform you're publishing to. So once you've got a set of cool ideas that are worth sharing,
Yeah.
that are worth other people might engage with, then you've got that idea and you can repurpose it onto multiple platforms, syndicate the message out far and wide,
Yeah.
and use collaboration as a tool to reach new audiences.
Now, okay, when you talk about, I mean, repurposing content, right? I've been reading a lot about content engines that people have created out of AI, where they either give
Yeah,
it a set of ideas or they give it, say, the transcript of a particular podcast episode, and then it will give them 10 different topics that they can write blogs on, or it'll give it 10
yeah,
outlines of blog posts, and then those 10 blog posts will probably become 20 social media posts or something of that sort. So you sort it for like
yeah,
3 months or something, and then, but there's a lot of genericity. I mean, it's
yeah.
too generic to look at, right? When if you look at it when it comes from AI, it's all being collated in a form that looks generic. So, how should
Yeah.
people be adding that human touch, and how are you suggesting your customers and your clients with it?
Yeah, so the way I look at it is to use the what AI helps you create as a first draft.
Yeah.
So it should never be just what you publish without even looking at it. I know people are just setting up systems so it automates the publishing of content at
Yes.
scale really rapidly, and so it is all generic and bland. And so, I mean, there's a client that is doing that of ours, and I kind of advised them against it, but they chose to do so. And
Mm-hmm.
looking at their traffic, it's just not growing at all.
Mm-hmm.
Where others are using it as a tool, but they're reworking in case studies and stories and examples that only they can share that aren't
Yeah.
generic because they're
Mm-hmm.
real stories
Yes.
that they've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So when you've got a first draft, it's really great because it'll prompt ideas in your mind. Oh, this piece relates to a certain scenario that I
Yes.
experienced, and I can add something of value. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not adding anything new, then why is it ever going to show up? If it's just a collation of everyone else's ideas that have already been shared,
Correct.
there's no purpose for it to be ever surfaced by large language models, by Google, because that information is already out there.
Yeah.
You've got to look at ways to add new value.
Mm-hmm. And as experts, right, I'll circle back to where we started, right? As experts, when you become an expert or you're trying to become an expert in a field, you have to have those little instances or those little pieces of experience that actually add value to others, right? Because without that, you're just sharing generic information that you got from somewhere and just spread it out, try to clickbait
Yeah.
people into clicking on your content.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, the way to look at it is AI can amplify whatever you're already wanting to say. So once you've got a core message, then
Mm-hmm.
it's worth amplifying. But if you're just amplifying genericness,
Yes.
it's there's no use to it. I think yeah, use AI as an amplification, kind of like this microphone. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if I was speaking in an auditorium,
Yeah.
I would only reach the certain amount of people in
Mm-hmm.
close proximity. But once I've got a microphone, it's still my voice, but and my message, but it can read to a massive stadium. That's kind of how to think about it in the context of AI and how to use it as a tool, not just to be the thought leader. We need to be the thought leaders in our
Yeah.
worlds.
I mean, even when somebody said this on a previous episode, right? Even if you have somebody write a lot of AI content for you, right, and you try to pretend that you're an expert, but once start people having that conversation one on one with you, they can tell within the first 2 or 3 minutes that you are not who
Yeah,
you're trying to portray, right? So let's talk about
yeah,
your journey, right? I know I sorry
yeah.
to cut you off. Were you saying something?
No, that's exactly right. I just agree with you. You keep going
Okay, no,
with the question.
I mean saying that, right, since we become experts and we can't pretend to be an expert using AI, right? So where has your journey made you into the expert that you are today?
So yeah, so I mean, getting into the industry, I studied graphic design multimedia at uni because
Hmm.
back in the day, when I was studying at high school, I mean,
Hmm.
websites weren't really a thing. Some
Yeah,
businesses had websites, but they weren't really not every business had a website back then.
yeah.
And I kind of fell into it because I studied graphic design multimedia at uni. Then I went to
Hmm.
work in a marketing company. And this is
All
how
right.
far the world has evolved since I started. I, um, I was working in this award winning marketing company in Sydney. It was the
Hmm.
year 2000, the Olympics year. So it was an exciting year. And they'd never designed a website. They won a project to
All
design a website, and they said, "Right, you're the young guy. Better figure out how to build this site because we've already won the proposal."
right.
So
Yeah.
I was the guy to do that site. I found I loved it. I found I loved the technical aspect blended with the creative visual
Yeah.
aesthetic
Hmm.
style, and so I became their web guy and eventually started my own business with the skill
Right.
set of building websites and so it was building websites for anybody and everybody back then. You know, you take on any work you can when you're starting a business. Well,
Yes.
that's what I did.
Hmm.
And over the course of time, realized all the majority of our very best clients were all kind of the same. They were in trades, they were in construction
Hmm.
businesses. We were getting the greatest success for them. And so we niched in closer and closer to that. And so the niche, so website design and development found me in a way. So
Yeah.
just being in the right place and creating a career path. So website design found me, and then the niche found me as well. I just realized all our best clients are in this space.
Yes.
So this is something worth pursuing. I think
Mhm.
momentum creates momentum beats perfection. So it's about getting started where you're at,
Mhm.
learning and evolving. I think we all need to be adaptable right now.
That's
Things are
right.
changing so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Since you talk about adaptability and AI, right? You mentioned that you, as a company, you are using AI to automate a few systems. But then when
yeah,
we talk about vibe coding, and so
yeah.
basically, I just want to ask, how are you convincing clients that, yeah, we don't just add human touch, our products are much better than what you get out of a vibe coding lovable AI tool?
Yeah, so I suppose for what we do, a lot of people just choose us because they look at our portfolio of work,
Hmm.
and so they look at websites we've done in the past, and because it's a visual thing, they can see it and they can experience it right away.
Yeah.
They'll see that and go, okay, this is something that we want for our business. So that's the beauty of designing anything really. So people will naturally be drawn to us because they like the style of our work. And so that's a big part of it. As I said, the vibe coding kind of right now, it will change and get better, but right now it kind of produces
Similar
more of a
stuff.
cookie cutter
Hmm.
approach. Yeah, so they all kind of come out the same, which is not bad if people are really starting lean, so they've got no budget and they just have to start, on a shoestring, which a lot of businesses start that way. Well, it's better to have a website that's vibe coded than not have a website at
Yeah,
all.
that's true.
Because as you said before, it takes time to build authority and get trust
Hmm.
in all the platforms. So the sooner you can get your website up and running as a new business, the better because you're starting to build that authority. The
Yeah.
website is starting to age. So if there's a website that's been around a while, Google see, oh, this site's been around a while. The business has probably been around a while. It's probably to some degree viable business. Therefore, it's probably producing some sort of level of service
Hmm.
and of some form of value to the world. So getting started as soon as you can and launching as soon as you can. If that's where you're at, that's great. But
Yeah.
obviously, you want your website to perform really well and bring new
Hmm.
business. So you don't want to cheap out. If you've got the budget for it, you don't want to cut corners because
That's
just imagine all the opportunities that you lose
yeah.
if your website lets you down.
Hmm. All right. So thank you so much, Wes. This was, I mean, a fun conversation, and in multiple ways, we talked about business and then bringing AI and why, I mean, starting from mistakes, right? I don't know why we started
Yeah.
from there, but then it was a great start to the conversation itself. Thank you so much for joining me in on this episode of Your Lab Central. Before I close, how can people get to know more about what you've been doing and some more about your business?
Sure, our own website is the best place to go, uplift360.com.au. And from there, you can book a strategy call with me directly. So straight into my calendar. No obligations, just book the call and we can have a conversation.
Thank you so much, Wes. I'm sure the audience took a lot from this conversation. So, to those who have been watching and listening, do leave a like if you liked what we talked about. The comment section will be open for questions, suggestions, and queries, and any other perspectives that you might have. And don't forget to subscribe before you close the window itself. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Wes, and thanks to the audience.
Thank you.